Hello, guys. I'm back again. This is Memory Bits, and I'm Rishikesh. And today I've got Muthu with us. I will share his detailed profile, LinkedIn profile, on the description, of this video. And one of the, the first sessions which we are taking on this Memory Bits, where we have not discussed any question that is going to be discussed between me and Muthu sir, right? I know he's going to tell me that don't call me sir and all those things, but yes, that sir is coming from here. That sir is not coming from here. So that is something which I would like to advise you all guys. When the sir is coming from here, please call sir. When the sir is coming from here, don't call sir. Right?
There is a
So
there is a there is a line that I remember.
yes,
There is a line that I remember. In similar lines, it said, "Respect is never demanded; it is commanded." Basically, that is a line that stuck with me for a long period of time. So, but I would still be comfortable if you can call me Muthu. Otherwise, you would continue to be younger, and I will continue to grow older, which is not true. Which is not correct. Okay.
which is not at all true.
No.
So the age of Muthu is like 22, and I am like 28.
That sounds better. But
Right.
people may not believe it. People may not believe it. So let's put it at, let's say, 28 being your age. I'll put mine at maybe 42, 43. That's more believable.
Done. 28 and 28 and let's make it 39, sir.
चलो
39.
ठीक है. ये दाढ़ी इतना सफेद होने के बाद में लोग भरोसा नहीं करेंगे. That's a different issue. Yeah.
Well, so guys, first of all, I will give an introduction about Muthu, and we'll do it pretty fast. So he has been working inside the industry for over 20 years now, and now he doesn't work, but and he's a pass out from NIT Trichy, and he started with Sashun Pharmaceuticals. Then he went into Surya Nepal Private Limited, which was a subsidiary of ITC Limited. Then he was a senior vice president IT for Moser Baer India. He was also the chief information officer of Hindustan Power Projects. He was the IT director of Morgan's Advanced Minister, and now he consults a lot of startups, a lot of companies, in their information management, product management, and other different kinds of problem-solving spaces. So I welcome you, Muthu. And the first question that I have for you is that because so I won't say your generation or our generation or the recent generation, what are a few things, like since when you passed out of the college, what are a few things which you find out different right now for the graduates who are passing out of the college, and what was there during your time?
I, I think I'll try and articulate this. When
Yes.
we passed out, the choices were clear, the options were clear, right? Um, the options were clear, and then we were kind of being driven to those options or choices, basically, right? If you are a mech guy, you look for a career in mech, or an electrical guy, look for a career in electrical. So there was no ambiguity and this noise around computer science and IT professional, and none of that was there at that point in time. You pick up a particular stream, and beyond that, if you want to become a generalist, you would do an MBA, and subsequently you'll forget everything that you unlearn what you have learned for 4 years, and then you try and learn something over the MBA duration, and then you become a generalist. You'll become a management person over a period of time and all this stuff. So that is, I think, what depicted our generation. Right now, I think the way in which I look at it, the choices are available. So the choices were very limited and they were very focused, right? um, Doctor बनना है, engineer बनना है, lawyer बनना है, right? Whatever, basically. But I think right now there are choices everywhere, basically, right in front of your nose. Every street has a choice, right? You can become a radio jockey, you can become a YouTube
Yes.
pro, right? You can become an influencer, you can become a guitarist, or you can become whatever you want to become, basically, right? So, and that is good, but at the same time I think that focus is not there. The choices are more, and therefore people are probably not able to decide and not able to get serious about those decisions when they should be, right? In my mind, when you are around 5, 6, 7, which is a formative years, 5, 6, 7 standard, which are the formative years. I think that's when one should kind of identify what you're good at, and then over a period of time, try and develop it as a passion, and then try and go behind it. For example, I'll take my son and my daughter. There's a conversation that we always have with my son. My son wants to become a screenplay writer. Okay, right now he's doing his engineering second year, third year, right? Um, so the question is, what do you want to be? I mean, you cannot be sailing on two sides of the boat, right? You cannot be sailing on two boats, basically. But because you have not been able to take a decision at right point in time, you have not been able to hone up your skills at right point in time. You have not been able to bring the focus at the right point in time. Right now, he is sailing on two boats. Hopefully he will leave one boat and he'll jump on the other boat which he likes, maybe over the next 4 to 6 years time or whatever. Okay, so that is one key differentiator. The second key differentiator, I think, the current generation wants things um, quicker, faster, and easier, basically. Quicker, faster, and easier. um, Maybe I'm generalizing it. Maybe because the kind of people that I work with, probably, I don't see them, getting into the whys and whats and wheres, and those inquisitive questions, and getting out the nuts and bolts and all that is not there. But probably that is one difference that I see. And the third difference, which was there earlier also, which I think is there now also, which is kind of consistent between two generations, is the professional connect between what you study versus
Yes.
what you do, basically. So these are largely the three things that I can think of.
Super, that was insightful. So, what do you think? Is it is it a good thing, like that the today's generation wants it faster, quicker, and easier, and that in a way is also taking them into a lot of mental health issues, and kind of instant gratification not happening, and they are getting into frustration, or that negative mindset, and that is pretty much visible across these days. People have become shallower as compared to what they were in your generation, maybe.
Yeah, yes. The short answer to that is yes. But I think we are also partially responsible for this, because in when you compare the generation earlier to ours, the generation earlier to ours did not get, let's say, materialistically, if you were to look at it, they were not doing very well. So
Mm,
they what they were able to do in life materialistically was kind of limited. In our generation, what happened is, like, we became probably materialistically little affluent, right?
mm,
um, and therefore, we want to pass it on, to our coming generation, and therefore, driving them to the school with the AC on, right? And pampering them with a lot of things that they may not need, right? Not saying no to them, preparing them for failure, and counseling them.
mm,
You just want, I mean, when you have a situation in the family, you just want to get out of that. Yeah, ठीक है, ये phone को ले लो, right? I mean, that's why even the kids, बच्चों के साथ में भी वो होता है ना, that's what happens, right? When the kid
mm.
starts crying, iPad पकड़ा दो उसको, उसमें crime लगा दो. So we are, I think, probably, one of the major reason why they become, what they have become at this point. So yes, they have a contribution, but I think, we I think, we have a very, very, the parenting, I think, is a major contribution also this.
Yes. Muthu, one question which seems very relevant these days is that, as you told, there was one thing which continued to be a problem in your generation and this generation, was a disconnect between what was being taught to us during our graduation or post graduation, and what we ultimately ended up doing. Do you have so have you ever tried to thought through this, and do you have any solution to this problem which maybe an startup or an organization can actually go ahead and start implementing?
I really think so. I mean, one of the things that I fancy about is, I think one of the basic problems that the people do not understand and appreciate theory is a because they do not understand and they do not visualize, what is being said, because requires a bit of language proficiency and it requires a bit of cognitive proficiency as well. So for example, if I were to say that Ram was taller than Sita, Sita was shorter than Mira,
Yes.
and this age was this, and that guy's age was +5. This
Hmm.
guy, when this age was, so when I'm saying those sentences, you need
Accurate.
to be kind of drawing a picture in your mind. If you're able to visualize what is being said,
Yes.
probably half the problem will be solved. I mean, that is where I think, that is where one of the things that I find, to be lacking. The second is, of course, the connect between the physical world and the real world, right? When you're talking about, I still remember, we used to have a professor called Anavi, who used to be teaching us the electric power systems, and that guy was from Neyveli Lignite Power Corporation, right?
Yes.
Ex guy. Amazing. I mean, the way in which he will treat us, basically, he will take us on a literal tour. Have you been on a train? Yes. Have you seen that, the conductors are passing by, right?
Yes.
Do you know whether they are LT or HT? How will you identify whether they are LT or HT, right? And there is something called the transposing of the conductors that you do.
Yes.
The way
Hmm.
in which he will explain it will make it really practical, basically. So you are able to see it through his eyes, and those visual aids are available today, and I believe most of the teachers are still probably not using it, to the full extent. So these are the two, and the third one, of course, when we start using digital aids, because many of the learning that you do is through the digital aids, and when you start using the digital aids, what happens is, like, along with what you want to learn, there are 100 things that you do not want to learn as well, right? It's
Yes.
up to you to kind of stay disciplined.
Hmm.
um, and that discipline one would never expect, from a person, right? So those are the issues that, I see. Those issues where, I mean, for us in our generation,
Hmm.
the distractions were far and few, right? अगर टीवी देखनी है तो भी हमारा घर पे टीवी नहीं होता था. We used to walk probably three. I mean, for example, right now the cricket match is happening. In our time, when the cricket match used to happen, मोहल्ले का पूरा, probably घर पे बैठ के उनके घर पे चाय पी के टीवी देखते थे, basically, so that is the way in which it is. So the distractions are also many. So there are various contributing factors which can be addressed, but I think fundamentally, if you were to look at it, the way in which you tell the story to a kid, right, will be uh, will be very important, basically. Will make it stick to that person, and then connect it to the practical orientation, right? साइकिल है तो आप, अगर आपको pedal and motion के बारे में बतानी है, तो you can actually bring a cycle, and you can show it to people, and people will never forget in their life. But how many of us take those effort to bring those aids, to teach the kids? These are, I think, gaps that still exist.
Yes. These are the gaps that still exist, Butu, but whatever interactions that or the research that I did, at a college level, not talking about the top 20 or 30 colleges, but a lot of colleges operate in India where they think that their responsibility ends with admissions. So they operate in that way, and then when it comes to placements, they believe that at least 2 3 students will get placed, and then we can use them as a marketing collateral. So in between, whatever happens in 4 years, the focus is not there. They don't want to spend money there as such. So even if you see the quality of professors teaching in these colleges, they're mostly those guys who have not got jobs, a lot of them, right? Or who may not qualify to work in some good company, and they have been teaching at a very low salary. Yeah, a person who is good, who is working from the industry, may not at all teach at that salary. So how to basically overcome that, and how can government also, or maybe startups also can actually help in that.
Yeah, so one of the things that, at least from a skill standpoint, because we keep cribbing about China, and then we keep comparing between China and India. the way in which I see it, the proficiency with which they use the engineering knowledge, right, and the devices, the various tools and tackles in China, that level of proficiency I've not seen in
Yes.
not proliferation. I've not seen it in India, right? I mean, वो थोड़ा ठोक के काम करते हैं. With that perspective, what I was actually thinking and working with a set of my friends is there is some kind of a capacity, distributed capacity available in various industries, right? Whether it is lathes and various mechanical and electrical, labs and all that stuff. If you look at it, industries have them too, right? Industries have those installed capacities available with them, and not
Hmm.
100% of the capacity is actually utilized. So we were trying to work in that ecosystem where we create a curriculum, a more
Hmm.
like a hub and spoke curriculum. When I say hub, I'm talking about the curriculum becomes the hub. Spoke becomes the place where the curriculum is,
Hmm.
kind of imparted to the people, right?
Hmm.
So the theoretical knowledge could be from a digital perspective, or you could walk into a local industry on probably a Sunday, and then the lathe operator there would be able to tell you the nuances of how to operate about the lathe. The best person to learn about it would be those kind of people, basically. So we were trying to create a hybrid kind of an ecosystem to bridge those gaps. And those kind of gaps can, I think, those are the job driving skills that you're talking about.
Hmm.
Forget
Yes.
about the digital literacy and all that stuff. Digital literacy, it was there, it will continue to be there, basically. But the brick and mortar, the physical skill set that you're talking about is the fundamental difference between China and India today. I think that's where probably we were trying to create a model using the capacities available in various industries for various purposes. It
Hmm.
could be a solid state, it could be an assembly kind of a
Hmm.
setup where when an employee comes on the day one, you are
Okay.
expected to do certain things without being told, right? Or at least 50% without being told, right?
Hmm.
And those capacities are available locally, and then they can be harnessed together in a hub and spoke kind of a hybrid model.
Hmm.
So that's what we are currently working on. I believe you are also working on something similar, Rishikesh, right?
Got it.
Or at
Yes.
least
Yes. Yes.
trying to create a model similar to that. Yeah.
Yes. And you have been guiding me on that. So so now taking the discussion to a different point now, so Muthu, since you have been in the industry for such a long time, you must have done hundreds of hiring for your team or for different teams and all that. So hiring ecosystem even now has got a few stakeholders. Likewise, you have HR consultants, you have recruitment platforms, you have the internal HR team of the company. Where do you think so do you feel happy with the entire process of the hiring, or do you have something in mind where you think that this is not right, this should happen like this way?
See, I think when you look at hiring, you have a role. The first thing would be that what you need for that role. The definition of it will need to be clear.
Hmm.
If the definition is not clear, you will have you will have a person who would be a misfit to that particular role. Right? You
Hmm.
cannot bring in an executive and
Hmm.
then ask him to operate at a different level and all that stuff. So that that basically starts with the definition. And many of the industries, small industries largely, right?
Hmm.
Even in larger industries also, I've not seen that role definition.
Yeah.
What do you call skill that you are expecting, and what is the level of proficiency you are expecting in that skill, right? And what competencies you are expecting. Those definitions are still lacking. I think that is one area where I still find it to be a gap. You can do a copy paste, yes, but many of the industries to where one would go, you would find that you ask for a job definition or a role definition. The job definition or role definition may or may not be there, but largely may not be there, or at least clear clarity would not be there. Then, because that is a fundamental building block for any career, any evaluation of the candidate that you are going to do, or any internal career succession, or any learning and development that you are going to do. I think all of that is going to start from that particular document, in my mind. Okay, so that is one. Second part of it is basically the matchmaking. Matchmaking. I think resume building, resume writing is getting sophisticated. There are interesting
Yes.
people, with interesting capabilities to write interesting stories in the resumes and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
So you need to do, the matchmaking, and the matchmaking is kind of becoming the hit rate. If you were to look at it, probably
Yes.
90% of the resumes that you look at will look like a super hit or whatever could be the case.
Yes. Yes.
But then beyond that, I think there is an assessment. I think I strongly believe there has to be an initial assessment, a preliminary assessment. In fact, I was speaking to someone recently who was asking for some support from an AI ML standpoint. So on
Oh,
one side you have the JD,
oh,
which are the requirement for the job, and on the other side you have the resume, which
hmm,
states what you have done, right? So based on what you have done and based on the JD, the system should pick up a preliminary assessment set of questions,
hmm,
and then put the candidate through an assessment tool, right?
hmm,
And then based on that you come to a final shortlist, and then you spend your effort with those candidates. So probably out of the 100 resumes, if I do a resume matchmaking, it will come to 90. But if I were to put it through the assessment, probably it'll come down to 10. You know,
yes. Yes.
and then depending on how sophisticated there are assessment tools, which are sophisticated. Also, those bits of technologies are available today, right?
Yes.
I think largely the assessment should be situational in nature rather than
Hmm,
rhetorical questions, and that is one of the areas where I think there can be a difference in approach. The best way will be to kind of put a candidate in a situation and then see how the candidate is kind of responding to that situation, so that would
yes.
give you a good. So that is the second piece of it. I think that piece is still to mature.
Hmm,
I think beyond that, conducting a very formal interview, recording the outcome of the interview and all that. I think, yeah, there are enough ATS tools available, which can help you do that. Onboarding, which can help you do that. There are sophisticated tools, available which can do that. But I think JD, like I said, and then the second thing around the assessment, the quality.
Situations.
So those are some of the areas where I think maturity can come up.
Now, so I was thinking of one thing, Muthu, like, since you talked about CV, there are a lot of tools now available, AI tools and all, which can actually create a CV for you as per the job description there, which is like, kind of gaming the system itself,
Generative AI, right? Yeah.
which is which is like gaming the system. And
Give a
CVs.
prompt based on the JD. Give a prompt based on the JD. It will churn out the cover letter and the resume. Yeah.
Yes. So it has become so easy that anybody and everybody can use it now. Uh, in that case, do you think that a component of video resume where there are these 5 6 situational questions and a candidate answering that, and if that is given to the hiring manager along with all the other details, it becomes an easier mechanism for him to shortlist also.
Video resume. When is it? Are you talking about a video interaction or a video resume?
Video pitch
The
or video
video resume is a recorded one. I mean, the video
no, no,
resume
no.
is a recorded one.
Yes.
Video interactions, yeah, I mean, video interactions can give you a lot of pointers, because when I ask you a question, our your facial facial analysis can all that be done
Yes.
with the video resume. Again, the generative AI that you're talking about with the deep fakes and all that. I think it could also, you can one can master the art of creating a video resume also, unless and until it is kind of impromptu. Like right now, we are having an impromptu conversation. If something like this happens, then yes. But otherwise, um, video resumes. I mean, today what is happening? Like people are trying to work the other way around, in the sense like, how do I pass the parsers and the AI, which is shortlisting the resume. So they are using it to create the resume, so that the pass rate becomes better. The same
Yes.
thing I think would become in the video resumes also.
Got it. Got it. Yes. And
It's
people
only
can
a
gain
question
this
of
easily. Yes.
and these technologies are available. You just do a Google internet and then you put things together. I think anyone can become an IT expert today. No, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. I'm saying, nothing. At least you are learning something, right? You are learning how to defeat a system, which is good. I
Yes,
mean, at least you are learning something.
right. So Muthu, I'm gonna add Vivek in the call as well. Vivek
Okay.
is a friend of mine, and
Okay.
I think Vivek also has some questions to ask from you.
Hi, Vivek.
Hey, Muthu, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you. How about you? Where are you joining from?
Uh, so currently I'm in Delhi today, but I'm coming back to Bangalore tomorrow. So I'm based out of Bangalore itself.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
So Delhi, how's the weather
right,
in
right.
Delhi? How's the smog in
Delhi
Delhi?
weather, it's getting colder by the day, and smog is actually like reducing. So Diwali time, it peaked before the Diwali time actually, and then it rained, and hope eventually there was some saving before the Diwali in terms of pollution. Yeah.
We can
But now
talk
it's getting
politics.
better.
Now that you are in Delhi, we can talk about politics, but not in this call, I guess. Otherwise, you will not be able to put it on the YouTube.
So this is going live, sir. We will just
Yeah, yeah,
take.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah. I will stay away from
right.
all political discussions. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Correct. Yeah. So you mentioned, I was listening to your conversation. I was there in the call. You mentioned about these different tools which are available. So and different like integration of AI, ML in terms of solving this problem. So I understand. Like me and Rishikesh, we have also discussed multiple times about this. The problem is basically like getting the right candidate to the hiring managers. So that's a very big problem. And you mentioned
Correct.
some sort of assessment before, let's say out of 600 resumes, 20 resumes are presented to the hiring manager. So
Correct.
were you suggesting that every candidate has to go through that assessment process before they even get shortlisted and be presented in front of the hiring manager, or are you suggesting something else in that particular comment?
Preliminary assessment, yes. I mean, what I'm talking about is you pick up the resume, you do the resume parsing, and then you use the AI
Hmm.
to match it with the JD. You do the matchmaking, degree of fit, and all the stuff.
Hmm.
Something like what you would
Hmm.
see in an intern shala kind of a thing, right?
Hmm.
And
Correct.
then
Hmm.
once you get to that level, you know that okay, fine. These are the 4 or 5 factors due to which I find this
Hmm.
candidate to be a fit. Now the next level is you want to be sure whether there is a proficiency, what is mentioned in the resume is still there with the candidate or not. So
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
put them through an assessment, right? I mean, so there's a
Hmm.
first level of shortlisting, and there is an assessment, and then the second level of shortlisting happens based on how the candidate responds to the assessment. For example, I'm looking at a
Hmm.
Java proficiency and just throwing something out
Hmm.
of my Python proficiency, let's say, for example,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then in
Hmm.
my resume, I have written, I've created super duper work with my Python, etc. It's all
Hmm.
verbose, right? I
Hmm.
mean, so it
Correct.
looks
Correct.
really good. Now, I want to,
Right.
so I pick that up, and based on, oh, you have said that you are a super duper guy, I will give you an expert level of question in Python, right? So the
Hmm.
system
Hmm. Hmm.
automatically decides, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
it's not only based on the JD, it's also based on whatever you have said as a part of the resume.
Hmm.
The system
Correct.
actually starts throwing questions at you, and then your degree of match of the answers would determine whether you are finally
Hmm.
getting shortlisted or not. And once you get shortlisted,
Hmm.
then you go through the actual interviewing process.
Correct. Correct. I think that's a very great idea. It'll help out, help in terms of weeding out the irrelevant candidates and uninterested candidates also out of the
It
system.
reduce the load. It
So,
will reduce the load significantly. I mean, this is a practical use case, that came to me from a colleague who is willing to evaluate the possibility of creating an application for it. Basically, I mean, while the application
hmm.
can be converted to a product, there are ATS available. The ATS can do the resume parsing, yes. To a certain extent,
Hmm.
they can also do the matchmaking and all that stuff. But the assessment part of it is the tricky part. Basically, it's not easy.
Hmm. Hmm. Correct. Correct. Correct.
I
Got
don't
it.
know whether I've answered that question of yours, Vivek.
No, I think yeah, that's pretty valuable insight that you have given, and I think it's the need for the industry because this is a process. Like we've also talked to multiple hiring managers. This is a major pain area in terms of the entire process. It's a frustrating thing on the
Absolutely
both
frustrating.
sides, even on the
Absolutely
hiring
frustrating.
managers side. Yeah, Correct.
Absolutely
Yeah.
frustrating. You can basically push it down. I'm the hiring manager. I'm not going to do the initial profiling. I'm going to push it down
Hmm.
to the deputy manager, assistant manager. Then the assistant manager will push it down. They will push it to the executive. Ultimately, at the end
Hmm.
of the day, if you are going to use the human eye, right, to look at the resume and look at the degree of fit, you are going to
Hmm.
fail. And also with the sophistication that is coming from the resume standpoint, they will
Hmm.
beat any ATS today, basically. I mean, people like
Correct.
me and you are there. If someone comes to me and says, hey, can you give me a resume, like, I think Rishikesh was pointing out, right?
Hmm.
I can probably go and put a prompt in such a way that I can get a copy paste it, put
Hmm.
it into my resume and send it across. The ATS will look for all those algorithms and all that stuff. Give me a match and then move it forward. It's a pain, real pain.
Right. Right.
Got it. So, these were like, pretty great insights. Like, so I think all the viewers could well be able to understand the entire process of hiring and, what are some of the areas in which, they can actually, plug in with their innovations. And also assessment is one thing. Matchmaking is there, but then there are tools like ATS, which is already doing it. But yes, improvement is always there in the system. So, somebody wants to, come out with a better idea, they can come. Now, I would like to, take it a little bit on the lighter side. So I was just going through some of the posts which Muthu has shared in the last 1 or 2 days, and he has shared a very awesome post, one day back, which I'm going to read here. It's going to take 1 minute time, but it's really, valuable. When things do not go according to plan, when ill luck begins, it doesn't come in sprinkles, but in showers. Do you feel like nothing is going right? Everything is a failure, and all that you do ends up in the form of disaster. All that you touch, well, you get the picture, right? There are times in life when you seem to have this streak of bad luck. Honesty, we all do. Now, what we do with it matters the most. People who believe they have bad luck create bad luck. Those who believe they are very fortunate, that the world is a generous place filled with trustworthy people, live in exactly that kind of world. If we get stuck with that bad luck mindset, we wake up with a limiting belief. We live with negative feelings. We do things expecting failure. We overthink every situation. We live in misery. We confide to those close to us that we are unlucky. We refuse to see the light, only the clouds. Is there a way out? Yes, there is a way out. In 1945, 29-year-old Yamaguchi worked as an engineer for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and was in Hiroshima on August 9th for a business trip. Stepping off a team, he was enveloped by a blinding white light. Little boy, the first atomic weapon ever used in war, had detonated just 2 miles away. Yamaguchi survived but suffered serious burns across his torso, two repeated eardrums. Eager to get home, Yamaguchi braved the peak radiation zone of downtown Hiroshima to catch a train the very next day to Nagasaki. On August 9th, while his office telling his boss about the horrors he witnessed in Hiroshima, the US forces dropped Fat Man on Nagasaki. Yamaguchi kept quiet about his double bombing status until his 80s, when he wrote a memoir called Twice Bombed, Twice Survived, and become an advocate for denuclearization. It was my destiny that I experienced this twice, and I'm still alive to convey what happened, he said in an interview when he was 93 years old and in the final stages of cancer, probably due to the exposure to so much of a radiation of two atomic bombs. Bad luck, one may say, twice the bad luck, one may think. But despite this, he chose to be an advocate, calling the world to change. We may not have everything going on according to plan, but we can use it to shape our lives and those of others. It's never a bad day, it's a bad few minutes that you stretch all day.
That I
Remember,
think is a very powerful. That I think is a very powerful line. In fact, if you look at it, it's not a bad day. It's a bad few minutes. That carry on. That lingers on. That probably makes your day bad. And I think the credit goes to someone else for writing it. I reposted it.
you shared it actually.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
shared it. And then I loved it. And there was a cartoon, associated cartoon along with it.
Yes.
Maybe your viewers can go and read it, and you go and enjoy the cartoon as well. I said never give up. Basically, never give up. I mean, you would have bad days. Never give up. The light may be around the tunnel. You do not know, right? So I like this post. Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Hmm.
My pleasure, sir. Now the last question. Since Muthu, you have seen the era where people wanted to get into established companies. Now is an era where a lot of young generation wants to build something of their own. The startup ecosystem has flourished in India for the last 5 to 6 or 7 years. What are your viewpoints on that, and how is it going to be beneficial for the entire economy as such?
I think it's definitely going to be beneficial. My initial response is it's going to be definitely going to be beneficial. But remember what I said? I said, the generation wants it fast, quick, and easy, right? They think startup is fast, quick, and easy, right? When they read that, someone created a startup and then made multi-million dollar crores printed money, bogeyed out and enjoying the life like anything, that is a story that probably sticks with them. And unfortunately, I don't think
Not necessarily. Yes. Yes.
startup ecosystem
Yes.
is bad. It is
There is a
actually
long skill and all that thing which goes with it.
180 degrees apart. Basically, there are only a few that make, and
Yes.
even they also need to put through a lot of
Yes.
efforts to make it happen. So it's a great avenue. I think it's a great opportunity for that is why I keep advising for strong incubation centers in any colleges, because I
Hmm.
mean even people in villages and colleges, they have brilliant minds. I mean, Indian mind is really brilliant. I mean, they can all they need is the right direction and the right resources. Those right directions and right resources are provided. I think they can work wonders. But don't think that it's a toggle. You flip it on, your life will become full of roshni. It's not going
Yes.
to happen that way. No, I don't think it is going to be. That's a famous quote, no? You remember the famous quote from our Kalamji? He said, "Dream is not the one that you get in your sleep, right? Dream is
Yes.
the one that keeps you awake." Okay,
Yes.
I think
Hmm.
people should not only read it, should enjoy the meaning of it,
Yes.
and should live by that. Basically,
Yes. And it's a wonderful journey, actually, sir. Whatever comes, we go up and down every day, but it's a wonderful experience if we start enjoying that journey. It gives us a lot of satisfaction from inside, because one day you come at night, you don't know the things, and you sit throughout the night, you create something of your own, and tomorrow you go to sell that thing. So that fast,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
like cooking your own dish. Nah, you can always order, but if you go to the kitchen, if you chop the vegetables, if you put in the right amount of recipe, you make a product, and then you eat it and you serve it to other people. Other people appreciate it. Same startup also. You need to go through the hardship any which way.
yes. Right. Great, sir. Thanks for joining us. This interaction can go on for hours, as our interaction usually go on, mobile phone. But this was one of the few times when we had a face-to-face interaction, and that also live. It was an immense pleasure to host you, and we feel that we will bring you back to the session again. And
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. But next time also, I don't mind doing impromptu. But I don't know what is the score now because India did not score well. So I'm
the
really
score is 30
anxious to
for
know what is
1.
the score now.
30 for 1.
Oh, is it excellent? Excellent.
But
I
after
like it.
3 hours. But after 3 hours.
Oh, 35. That's okay. One wicket down is one wicket down, right? I mean, one problem, one less problem for India.
Yes.
Okay. Chalo.
Take care,
Thanks.
sir.
Thanks, Rishikesh. Thanks, Vivek.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you,
Very
Muthu.
nice talking to you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Thanks for having me on the YouTube live show. This is my first, and I really enjoy talking to you guys.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Ciao. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye. Bye.